Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Ceará in Brazil. Ceará, as you can see, is located along the Atlantic Ocean coastline. It's a very unique coastline. We have Fortaleza here, which is one of the largest cities in Brazil. I think the fourth largest. Yeah, fourth largest. But this coastline has some very incredible beaches. It gets really great in the next state over, in Maranhão, I believe. Yeah, Maranhão. Lençóis Maranhenses is over here. It's like the biggest version of this kind of beach, but you can also find this style of beach dotted around the coastline of Ceará. The most prominent being up here. There's Jericoacoara. And it's kind of hard to describe these coastlines if you've never seen them. They are very sandy with really beautiful, fine white sand. And it's very hilly and lumpy. And in the valleys of these hilly, lumpy sand dunes, it fills up with water, like little tiny pools of water that you could actually swim in some cases. And it creates this really beautiful alien landscape. So be sure to stick around for the Google Earth portion so that you can see these beaches, because you don't want to miss them. They're incredible. More inland, it gets very rugged. It's pretty much after this coastal area, the Fortaleza area, it just becomes very rugged farmland. The soil here is very fertile, so all kinds of crops are grown. Historically, it was cotton. But today you can find all kinds of fruits, lots of cattle farming, still cotton, but not as much as it once was. We'll talk about that in history. If you know, you know. But pretty much every farming industry you can find in this state. You can see all the rivers flowing down from the mountains here definitely help with that. More inland, though, we find a very Brazilian landscape known as the Caatinga, which is a very dry, shrubby land. The shrubbery is kind of gray, so it's a very kind of bleak landscape, but very beautiful nonetheless, very desert core. And then it gets much more mountainous on the borders here. We reach the Brazilian highlands, where we can find all kinds of different mountain chains here. You can find the Ibiapaba over here, which is really fun to say. So many of the indigenous words in this state are so much fun to say. We have the Serra Grande and then the Araripe along the border here. That's a really beautiful landscape. Very unique, very Brazilian. So let's talk about the history of Ceará State, which is also a really pretty name objectively, I think. All of the, like I said, all the indigenous names here are great. And that is because this area was full of a variety of indigenous cultures all throughout very early history here. Many different types of indigenous groups. In the year 1499, over here at Jericoacoara, the Niña actually docked here. My Americans out there know that name because we had the Niña, the Pinta, and Santa Maria shoved into our brains at a very early age. Those are Columbus's 3 ships. But contact with the peoples here didn't begin until about the 1530s. In 1534, settlement was established here that failed. Apparently, drought is a cyclical thing in Ceará State. It goes through periods of very, very heavy rain and then drought for a few years and back and forth. So they tried to establish their settlement right when a drought started, so it failed and they left. And because of that, the French started to take up the coastal land here and claim it for themselves. And they had a lot of agreements with the indigenous peoples here to, I suppose, try to keep the Portuguese out. In 1603, the Portuguese built a fort here, which was later abandoned. The French took it over. There was a big battle in 1612, and the Portuguese reclaimed it. But I suppose they didn't do much with it, because in 1637, the Dutch invaded this area. And also had some agreements with the indigenous peoples, which apparently did not go very well, because in 1644 they attacked this settlement and their fort and completely destroyed it. In 1649, the Dutch would they would build like a brand new fort called Fort Schoonenborg. I hope that's how you say it, maybe Schoenenborg. Dutch, you know what, Dutch and Portuguese are two languages I struggle with, so this is very fun for me. But nevertheless, however you pronounce it, it's really fun to say either way. So they rebuilt a new fort, which in 1654 the Portuguese would claim this entire area. And through a treaty a few years later, the Dutch would hand it to them. The Portuguese renamed the fort to Fortaleza de Nossa Senhora de Assunção, or Fortaleza, which is how the city gets its name. It would grow around the fort and really thrive in the centuries to come due to all of the agriculture in this state. It would be, collected and shipped out through the city here. So a huge shipping industry developed, and slowly but surely a huge city developed. Now, like I said, the biggest cash crop at this time was cotton. And cotton is very notoriously difficult to harvest. It's very scratchy, it tears up your skin when you pick it. So, of course, the people here kidnapped Africans to pick it for them and process it. And there is a very large slave culture here for that industry, which makes it very amazing that in 1884, Ceará state was the first of Brazil's states to abolish slavery, which is, very late in history for abolishing slavery, but nevertheless it happened. And the rest of the states would follow suit. And due to that, all of the industries diversified, and that's how we get so many different types of crops and farming in this state. And pretty much like the only other news is just Fortaleza just booming and expanding into the massive city that it is today. And that is, in a nutshell, the history of the state of Ceará. Now, let's go take a look at Google Earth. I'll tell you now that I wandered all through the interior and couldn't find anything to really show you. Everything is just along the coast. So we will take a little moment to poke around and see if anything just magically pops up this time. Fingers crossed, because I do want to show you the interior. But there's so much to see along the coast and in Fortaleza. So why don't we take a look? Let's go. Here we are in Ceará state. And let's start by zooming out so you can see exactly where we are in the world. Here is beautiful Brazil. All the borders just disappeared. Brazil, there we go. The largest country in South America, has this long coastline. And the Amazon, of course, probably the most iconic geographic aspect of Brazil. And yeah, you can see just how large it is. You can see the Amazon River here from space. You know what you can also see from space is that place I told you about, Lençol Maranhenses. See that white dot right there? That's the largest of these beaches that we're going to look at. So you can see little bits of it along here, right there. But let's look at the most famous one in Jericoacoara. flora, which I hope I'm saying right. I practiced. You can see this beautiful white sand here and the little pools of water. Isn't that remarkable? Come on. So you can swim in them. Oh, big twisty trees, isn't that neat? There's the beautiful coastline and the beach. Take your four-wheeler out there and look at that tree. My goodness, that's very remarkable. Big rocky coastline with some cacti and cool rocks and little arches there. But yeah. Let's see. Oh, that's a beautiful picture of the coast, isn't it? So yeah, here's a good picture of these big pools of water amongst the sand dunes. You can see the ocean out there. Very, very neat. I guess people like standing on that rock. Be careful, dude, because you're barefoot. Look at all the shapes in this rock that the wind and the water have created over like longer than we can imagine, I'm sure. But yeah, you can see the various lakes here. Let's take a look at one of them. Oh, apparently not that one. We can look at this one. A little lagoon, I guess. Isn't that neat? What a fun beach. There's like so much to do at this beach. It's not just enjoying the sand and the ocean. You can explore the sand dunes and the pools, just like this person's demonstrating. Look how beautiful and look how reflective they are of the clouds above. Big old cloud lakes. As always, I encourage you guys to check out these regions on Google Earth in your spare time. But like, I sometimes just hop over here in my spare time and look at this landscape because like I really want to go here someday. They added it as a UNESCO site like 2 years ago. That's how I found out about this place. And I've been like low-key obsessed with it ever since. I think it's so great. So I'm really happy to find miniature versions in this state. Alright, I think we should just head over to Fortaleza, which, I mean, when we read that it's the 4th largest city, you're like, wow, like the other cities must be massive. And oh boy, they are. Sao Paulo is one of the biggest cities in the world. But like, here's a fun thing that I was doing. Here's the big sprawling city, right? And thankfully it's in 3D because I've been going like this. Just like looking at this absolute forest of skyscrapers. Look at this. Look at all of these tall buildings. It really is like a big, and it stretches back so far. It is a forest, a man-made forest of all of these huge buildings. Isn't that incredible? And along the coastal area here, along the beach. That's amazing. It's so sprawling. So yeah, this is the 4th largest city in Brazil. Isn't that nuts? Let's see what we can find here. The most famous beach is over here. Praia de Futuro. And of course, it's a stunning, beautiful Brazilian beach. You can go, I guess, kite surfing, I think that is. And it's just paradise. It's just beauty everywhere. Yeah, they're doing all kinds of sports. They're drinking out of a coconut, enjoying the low tide there. Yeah, look how gorgeous. Look how much this beach stretches out. Must feel great on hot days, which I guess it's now because it's almost winter here in the US, which means it's almost summer in Brazil. So I bet you that this beach is pretty packed this time of year for the holidays. Goodness, what else do I have to show you? Oh, the fort. Obviously, I have to show you the fort. Can I remember where it is? It's over here somewhere. Yeah, right here. Because you can see the old outline that distinctive colonial fort shape right there. Here's the Fortaleza. The big walls. And of course, it's a museum today. They got statues and memorials here. A little museum. Old cannons there protecting the fort. And bigger pew-pews protecting the fort. Oh, that's a neat statue. A soldier there out of like scrap metal. Oh, that's a neat sign. The old fort. Where the city began. It grew up around that area. There are more beautiful beaches over here. There's all kinds of like things floating out here. Here's an old barge. Let's see if we can see it. And just all rusty and floating out there. Guess this person swam out to it. I'd be careful. Make sure you get your tetanus shot after. What are my cats doing now? Hey, Bonnie. Oh my goodness. I think the cats are awake. Yeah, Bonnie. Let's see. Oh, I know what I have to show you. It's this big, gorgeous park here. Hold on. Bonnie Blue. Bonds. Bonnie. Okay, whatever. Hopefully she figured herself out. This is the Coco Park along the river Coco. And it is one of the, like, I want to say one of the largest, like, green spaces within a city, but definitely one of the most diverse in terms of, like, things to do and see. It's a whole forest that's preserved here. There are mangroves and hiking trails, all kinds of wildlife living within it. Looks like there's a soccer pitch or football, and basketball by the looks of it. But yeah, you can take little mangrove cruises through the river and see the wildlife and the trees there. Weird big flowers and trees and lots of things to see here. Pretty great. Okay, now she's in her litter box. Sorry about that. She probably just had a poop. You know, it's always a crisis when you gotta do a big poo. And there's the beautiful botanical garden over here. Let's see, let's find some pretty flowers. There we go, some orchids. And take your photos there. Because yeah, there's lots to see in the city, but I'm trying to remember if there's anything that I absolutely had to show you. Let's just look at the main slideshow. You see, look how incredible that is. So many tall buildings there. There's a beach. Get some tours there. Look at this cathedral. That's beautiful. Enjoy some good food. See the local art along there. And that statue I've seen a lot. See, oh wow, isn't that gorgeous? Look at these cliffs here, all worn down from the sea winds. Beautiful resorts. And yeah, that's Fortaleza in a nutshell. Beach and culture. Alright, let's see. Can see some more gorgeous landscape over here. These incredible beachy areas. Very, very neat. I really hope you can't hear her. Look at all these trees. Aren't they remarkable? Just the wind has just shaped these trees so they don't even look like trees anymore. They look like big bushes or something. All right, let's put the borders back up and let's explore the interior. Hey, Bon, are you all done? Do you feel better now? You don't need to cry? No, okay. She feels better now, guys. It's okay. Whoa. Let's look in here. This seems like it's the biggest city here, but I see this. Araripe. There we go. There's the mountains. The forest. Can take a terrifying ride up above the canopy there. I'll pass on that. But yeah, we can see. Oh, look at the mist over the treetops. It's pretty great. Pretty butterflies there on those big bright flowers. Cool. This broken tree. Oh my gosh, she's still digging around. My little menace. But yeah. There's the mountains there. But yeah, let's look at this area. Is there anything to see in here? Oops. We've got nice big statues. And of course the old churches. Oh, it's raining over there. Yeah, who is that? We're exploring together, I guess. I don't think we're gonna find it. Is it this? No, but that's yet another big statue. You know, Brazil really do be enjoying their giant religious statues, don't they? They really are very much into it. Let's see this park. State Park Site Foundation. Of course, it's beautifully forested as well. Oh, they're enjoying the spring there. I bet it's pretty cold. But like refreshing cold, you know. Let's see what else we can find. Ayuaba. I was hoping I could find you a good example of Caatinga. But you can see how dry it is over here. This is pretty Caatinga. All of the like silvery gray. Oop, there's some dung. Shrubbery there is what I was trying to say. I wonder if... I wonder. I haven't tried this. Let's see if it works. If I just go Ceará, Caatinga, and just search that and see what pops up. Well, there we go. No pictures, though. Maybe there's a street view over here. No? Oh, okay. Then let's see this. Nope. Well, I certainly tried. But there is a good enough picture in that slideshow. You can kind of see what it looked like. But as you can see, it's mostly just, you can see all the little patchwork farmland there. Getting very lush over here. Now my cats are running around. What's this? It's a little cantina. Now the cats are rolling around. Yeah, they are definitely awake and ready to play early in the morning. But yeah, like I've been wandering around looking and really have not found very much to show you. Maybe this has some pictures? Like it's, like that's not, I mean there's some of the lake there, but nothing too remarkable to show you. Let's put the borders back up. Yeah, let's look around here. See if there's anything. Maybe if we look a little closer, you can see how green it is around the river. Oh, there's some cows. Let's see. It looks like there's a little ranch here, but look at this landscape. How pretty is that? Goodness. So yeah, what we'll do is, if any Brazilians out there watching this, and I know you are because my Brazilian viewers are fantastic, drop down in the comments down below if there's any place that you feel like we should check out in the state that we didn't see. Look at this forest. See, like the forest is beautiful, but I'm trying to show you like the shrubland, you know. I'm trying to show you the wilderness out here. But of course, nobody really takes pictures out in the wilderness because there's really not much there. But yeah, if there's any places you feel like we should check out, Brazilians, let us know in the comments, okay? My cats are causing havoc. I think they're saying it's time to play with toys. Let me find another little beach. Let's look at this one to close out this video. The dunes. There we go. Oh, cool, big wind farm. That doesn't help us, though. Here we go. Much better. Oops. Oh, cute. Let's start up here, though. You can see the little pools. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. Next on the channel, though, we're going to Israel, and I know that that's a very hot topic. I know it's a very contentious topic, but you're going to have to see how I address it. I've been working on that script for a while to try to make it peaceful and calm and relaxing. And we're going to see some really neat places, though. Lots of course, historical things, because the history there stretches back into early human history. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I do hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational, and I hope that you have a good night. It's time to go play with my kitties. They're just staring